Welcome to Center of Light. Good to see you tonight. This is a treat for me. Give me 1 second. Got something special, at least for me. Again, I'm so selfish. This is music from yesterday, from the Mahashivratri Festival, 2021. Good to see you. Welcome to Center of Light. Tonight is Center of Light Objective. I should have named it Joke. You'll understand the point shortly. Center of Light Objective. God realization. What is that? That sounds like some of that New Age stuff. It's as old as dirt. In fact, it is the Ancient of Days itself. 1 sec, I'm doing some technology thing. I had a couple of issues. I think that'll do it. Welcome to Center of Light, y'all. Good to see you. Just winding down, winding in. We're going in tonight. I do have another video from Dan, aka Danny Childress, keyboard player, singer like nobody's business. I was fortunate to play with in my last band, Grand Theft Audio. Let's see what's happening in the rooms. It's going to help me settle in. Hello, KK. Kelly Bird says, wasn't the Mahashivratri Festival awesome? That only touches the garment, right? Yeah, fantastic. So tonight is Center of Light Joke. I'm going to rename it Joke. But it is the objective. Center of Light's objective always. So the music you are hearing is from Sounds of Isha from the Mahashivratri Festival yesterday. Check this out. No matter your walk, talk, creed, code, or sect, the Hindis are serious about God. Not their God. They're not ignoring your God. There's only one absolute. They call it different things. They worship it differently. But when they go into it, they go into the fire. Check it out. So what is all that? They are serious. What is the representation of fire? Purification. What is the representation of the big 116-foot statue? The Lord, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, that which is everything that is the most powerful in the universe. It's just a representation of the begotten Son, the divine soul. It's all the same thing. But back to the days of old, in this new age, we are going. Tonight on Center of Light Joke Objective. God realization. What is God realization? If I knew the answer, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair. But I know I've touched the garment of the Christ, of the Buddha. I've been given glimpses. A little later tonight, at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to play that song, that video from my friend, brother, Danny Childress. His project is called Dan. I will be sharing a link to his website and how you can find more about Dan and his work. And the song I'm going to play is called Ironically, Magically, Synchronistically, Miraculously, Gracefully, Inner Realm. Came right on time. Thank you, Danny. Let's see what's happening in all the rooms. I want to say hello to everybody. Vicky, hi. Kelly Bird, we said hi. Katie says, I died yesterday and came alive yesterday. How phenomenal is that? So it's happening on YouTube. Hello, Dana Trotta. Hello, Riri. All right, I'm not going to spare any more time. I'm going to get right into the thick of it. I'm looking at a couple things. I had some things squashed today. I know, Keith, you don't have to be so perfect. Just give us the message. Well, I like being in my game. I am into media. I'm a producer. I like quality. I love quality beyond measure. Just looking at a couple things. All right, good to go. This music is from the Sounds of Isha yesterday. Live. Like a 25-piece Indian ensemble who were not musically trained at all. It's their devotion to the divine ocean that gave them this emotion. She's crying and she's praying. As Osho says, pray like a lover, not a beggar. Please, 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 please. But a lover. Jesus, come into me and fill me so much so that I die and resurrect in the birth of the Christ. And whatever your religion, doctrine, creed, code of sex says, that thing. No one is ever trying, at least not this no one is ever trying to change your religious path, that what you do religiously to serve your master. In fact, if anything, I'm bumping you off the cliff. You better jump in it all the way. It's the only way any of us are going to win it. I'm going to nudge you. Do it so much so that you lose your corporeal self. You come into the fire. Because in the fire, your religion will be burned away. Take your shoes off, Moses or Mosette. You won't need them. You're walking on holy ground. And the holy ground is your life. Joy or strife. The holy ground is your life. Because you see, it's not the truth that makes people afraid. It's their ignorance of it. That is a delicious stick of spiritual dynamite bubblegum. Chew on that for a while. It's not the truth that makes anyone afraid. It's the ignorance of it. So tonight is Center of Light joke. Objective. God realization. What is it? I've glimpsed it. I've touched it. I want more of it. Things are changing. I am so proud of all of us. We went through a year plus in a negative fashion. Being locked down. I'm locked in. It gets a little cray-cray and wonky sometimes. I need to express. One of the reasons I have the blessed opportunity to do what I do all the time. I like expressing myself. Swamji calls me the director. I take that as a compliment. I love what I do. And I direct my energies in a very positive, powerful channel, Center of Light. Keeps me sane. Actually keeps me insane. Insanity. I'm in where sanity is. Insanity. That's my next meme. Insanity. I am in where sanity is. Insanity. Many people don't have that blessing. They just don't know what to do with themselves. So I am going to be addressing that very idea. Understand the divine comedy. Your life is a joke. It's very sacred. I'm not trivializing your life, but I'm taking us to the next level beyond the corporeal realm of what we think is real and tangible, because it is our life, but it's not our eternal life. So what is our eternal life? By realizing God. So much so that when you're with your Jesus or your Buddha or your Krishna or your Sai Baba or your Swamiji, that you lose all of yourself and fall into the divine fire, that nothing else exists, not even what you know as you, because I'm so unified and amalgamated with my Lord. It's not hard. It's never been hard. All right, let's see what we got. Let me look at my notes to kind of get me on board the train to Ascensionville. My producer, Carl, said he's doing some testing tonight. You test, brother. All right, let's see. Let me get my notes. If you have not yet read Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, my bestseller, the link is in these forums. Purchase it. $18, 30 years of my life compressed. Inner research, inner engineering, as Sadhguru would say. Tonight is Center of Light Joke Objective, God Realization. Who is it? Who is God? Literally, I'm asking, who is, it's open-ended, rhetorical. Who is God? Of course, we have deities, archetypes, and icons. We say, well, that is it. Well, that it is it for all of us, but that's not the it of it. That's only a fragment of the it of it, because the it of it all is greater. It's infinite. So if God was our deity, or the it deity, and that's all it could ever be, everything else other than the deity itself would collapse and it would just disappear. But the deities have become the personification and the conscious realization of understanding that they are simply a piece of the whole, but they have illumined their piece to the level of the whole, the holy, the wholeness. Who is it? Who is God? This one, if you're in America, wherever you are and you believe in Christianity, Hindus, Muslims, everybody's asking who is it, and they will tell you who it is. So now the question becomes, where is it? Where it is. And now the final question of the Trinity is, what is it? We immediately think of God being personified as a human being. That is only 1/3, 33.33% of the truth. God is not a man. Men, women, beings have realized that I am a fragment of the whole, and I surrender my life to the wholeness. So now I'm still a fragment on this level, but the level of my understanding and consciousness and reality, I am in the fire. I am in the garden. I live eternally. So the chair you're sitting on is grace. The fact that you're hearing my words is grace. The fact that you eat your food is grace. The fact that you take a breath every day of your life, ongoingly, unconsciously, is grace. And when we can master consciously the breath of God, God breathes life into man. So if I become aware of myself as the breather or breathing, and become connected consciously to who, where, and what is the breather, I ascend. There is no other way. There is no other way. I mean, I may have said that many times, but there is no other way. There are many paths to the past, but there is only one path. Pray like a lover, not a beggar. God realization is like a joke. Keith, that sounds blasphemous. Okay. But God realization is like a joke, meaning it's literally like a joke. Like a joke, often it has to be repeated. Life lessons have to be repeated until you get it. like a joke. Someone tells you a joke and you go, wait. I don't get it just yet. And they repeat it and they repeat, now I got it. So you have this illumination, this enlightenment, this aha moment. God realization is like a joke. Often it has to be repeated. Karma lessons over and over until you get it. But once you get it, you will laugh so hard that you will cry a river to the soul. It is the soul, your soul, the one universal soul. Makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it? It's not hard. So no matter what scripture you follow, if it says, mentions, supports, God is omnipresent, well then let's honestly look at what omnipresence is, where it is, and what it is. Can't run away. You can run away. It's not the truth that makes you afraid. It's our ignorance of it. Carl's talking to me in a private chat. So, scripture says God is omnipresent. Take that in. God is omnipresent. I believe in my scripture. God is omnipresent. Great. So, let's go beyond the nonsense of just tantalizing, entertaining omnipresence. I get it. God's everywhere. Well, let's look at the God is everywhere. It's everywhere. What does that mean? That means there's no place it is not, except fear. How can God dwell in fear? In fact, God is ignorant of one thing: fear. It has no understanding of fear at all. It can't. It's impossible. But it does understand what fear is in regards to that God can see what it does to his children and how it affects us. So omnipresence is God everywhere except fear. Fear is our illusion. So what is omnipresence? Where is it? Well, obviously it's everywhere. And who is it? It's everywhere. It's the food you eat, the words you say, provided you are or of clear mind, of clear mind. It's everything. There is no thing it is not. In fact, God is exactly that. No thing. It's zero. It's the 0 point. This point, the Sacred Heart, the place between heaven and earth, the cross. And it intersects here into the space of absolute nothing. No thing, because the nothing and the no thing is infinite potential. I am not a thing. I am that I am. And unto eternity, I express that of myself to illuminate me, meaning God, as the absolute one, and there is no other. Dig that. Omnipresence, omniscience, all-knowing. Think about the internet. Is God coming closer to the earth? Oh, you can bet your sweet ass it is. Through all of us. God is winding its way through every soul on the planet. The internet is an expression of that. If God is omnipotent, all-powerful, all-knowing, and omnipresent, we look at the internet. Omnipresent. It's everywhere. The internet is everywhere. God is everywhere. God is omniscient. The internet knows everything, so to speak, for this analogy. There's nothing you cannot find on Google. And if you find the word, look at the word Google and trace it back to its roots. Google doesn't end. It means infinity. So Google, whoever chose that name, was it their choice to choose that name, or was it part of the divine manifestation that God is moving about the earth in ways we never thought possible and or have seen in our human past? So God is omnipresent. It's everywhere. And omniscient. What is omniscient?
to cleanse the five
Omniscience
system.
is
Helps stabilize
all-knowing,
the
and we know knowledge to be power.
Globe sleep or a constant
Omniscience,
conducted
omnipotence.
every month.
I'm talking
Can't sit down, can you?
from last night. One moment.
Fire.
I'm gonna take a short pause.
I had my little thing.
See what this is real quick. I'll be right back.
Being a part of such a festival, cosmic event. This is not us watching something on a screen.
All right, so I guess the music's over. So I'm going to put some new music on. Welcome out everyone to Center of Light. Tonight we are speaking about that beautiful truth, which often makes people afraid. Need not make you afraid. There we go. So back to the analogy of the internet. It's everywhere. Find all knowledge on Google. We know knowledge is power. We think about God's three components, which I will read later from my bestseller, Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. My three tenets are still the basis of my spirituality. Omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. When we walk consciously into that place, that's your religion. And you do it religiously, so much so that it becomes default. You don't have to think about it. At first, we all have to learn to walk. I have to learn how to play a G chord and a C chord and an A minor and a D. I just made a song right here just now. You put all the theory behind, and it becomes integrated into your being. So at first, it may be a process to learn how to navigate, walk, meander, move toward, inward, upward, forward, toward the greatest possibility as we leave the human dynamic and begin to cross the bridge to the soul, and we go back home, homecoming. This is God realization. Jesus did it, Buddha did it, Krishna did it, Swamiji did it. Everyone's doing it on the levels of the deities that we worship. So if we truly want to follow the master or the /masters, we have to entertain the possibility that not only am I a son or daughter of God, a messenger of God, that I am the actual son, S-O-N, as well as S-U-N. I am the sun. I am that which brings light and warmth to the world for all of humanity. That is God realization. When you live for humanity, the spirit of God, which is embodied in all beings, that unification begins to move through you, and you begin to move into purification. As my brother Danny Childress says in his own beautiful, musical, artistic way. I'm going to play a new video from him. He was a keyboard player in the last band that we joined. I loved it. He has a song appropriately titled The Inner Realm. I'll be right back.
It's getting colder with every step I make. A chill in the air, a fear you can't shake. Who hears you when you cry? Who hears you when you call? Who'll save you? Who'll save you now? beast inside, tugging at your strings. Will you push away, listen when it speaks? Knocking at your door, you can't deny. Will you let him in, or let him pass you by? Hear you when you cry.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Tonight is Center of Light. I named it Objective. I always put a tag, Center of Light something. I should have named it Joke. You'll understand in a minute. I named it Objective because God realization is like a joke. Someone tells you a joke and you don't get it. It's called life. And life has to repeat things to us over and over till we get it. And then we go, ah. When we get the final ah of it all, at the joke of life, the divine comedy, we will laugh so hard we will cry a river back to the soul. Your soul, the one soul, the universal, Christed, illumined, forever, God realized soul. See, we're already there. We're just down here playing on the earth for a little while. It's not about you dying. Many religions think it's about you dying to reach God. How? That's ironic. That's an oxymoron. How can you have eternal life if you find God when you die? That doesn't make any sense. You find God when you live, and you live fully, and you become your full potential. God realization, being happy, being joyful, being blissful, being ecstatic, being in nirvana. I made a new intro today. I had fun. I just got up and I want to make a new intro. And so that's what you just saw. Welcome to Center of Light. Tonight's Center of Light Objective, Joke, God Realization. Let's move into the presentation. I am now going to play you a video by Shunyamurti. The man, to me, is in the gate. He's maybe possibly slightly waiting to be let in. But you can bet he is at the gate. And he's one of the first 5 people in line. And the doors open up at 7 heaven, a.m. And it's 2 minutes to 7. He's ready. Hello, Sana. Hello, Kim Gary. So I'm going to play you a video now by Shunyamurti. Check this out. And the title of this video, it's great. So again, I'm going to repeat. Tonight's presentation is God, Center of Light, Objective, or Joke, God Realization. And Shunyamurti's video is titled, To ever be eaten by God, you must be delicious. To ever be eaten by God, you have to be delicious. Or God's gonna spit you out like a bone in a sandwich. To be consumed by the absolute. Sorry to tell you, my condolences. When you are consumed by the divine, you are going to die. What you know as you cannot survive. Because if you could, you would be in it right now. But we're not. Doesn't mean you can't realize God within yourself as a human being. But what you know as you is going to die. And that's scary as God knows what. Because again, the truth is not what scares anyone. It's the ignorance of it. Shunyamurti. In order to be eaten by God, you have to be delicious. Some hot sauce, a little bit of soy sauce, a little extra salt, maybe some pepper, lots of garlic for me. See you shortly.
So, the medicinal arts and the culinary arts are very closely related. And if you think about the history of religion, it has always been a culinary exchange. The humans would either sacrifice something of value, whether it was cow or a goat or something that was of high value for them, and it was offered to the gods in the sacrificial fire. In return, the gods would give the gift of a prosperous harvest and the food that would, the manna from heaven, the food that would enable the survival and the thriving of the sacred community. And then in return, in many religions, including Catholicism, God would offer himself to be eaten, right? In the Holy Communion meal, you're having the body and blood of Christ. And in the Passover meal is a culinary exchange with God as well, and symbolizes God's service of the plagues that are, in a sense, given as a medicinal rebalancing of the world's social, political, and economic system to favor liberation and freedom. So if you think about it, going back to what I said was the ecological function of the human species, the human soul in its perfected form is an offering to God, and it is in fact God's crop. This is what God actually lives on. And so we always say, as above, so below. On the earth plane, there is a food shortage, whether you are aware of it or not. God has been suffering a food shortage. Why? Because God's dietary preference is such that he will not eat a soul that still has egoic contamination. Okay? So if you want to be eaten, swallowed totally and digested by God, you have to be so delicious that God cannot resist eating you. Okay? This is the goal of Sat Yoga. And you know, culinary, that word, the kul comes from cul-de-sac, right? It's the bottom of the sack, but it's the bottom meaning the fundament, the beginning and the end. This is the ultimate art. Life begins with nourishment, and it ends as you become the nourishment for the worms and the earth and the future generations. But that's on a bodily level. But we are here actually to reach such a point of vibrational frequency that we merge back into God consciousness, and the result of our being swallowed and digested by God is God also excretes, and what is excreted is the diamond mind in its purity and the golden light of God's emanation of satisfaction. So why is gold and diamonds the ultimate carriers of value for every culture in history, right? When all the rest of forms of money collapse and are found valuable. It's because they represent the closest signature of God's presence that we have, which is when you are eaten by God, you will literally in return be given the diamond mind. The mind that is then filled with the light of God. So the completion of the Vajra as diamond and the lightning becomes attained. But it is only attained once you have been completely digested. And so that's the question. Do you want to be digested by God, or do you want to be rejected? Because the ego wants to be rejected. It does the same thing that a lot of plants do. It tries to make itself unpalatable so it won't be eaten. And that's exactly what the ego has done. It's made itself so poisonous that God wouldn't go near it. Now, if that's what you want, okay, you'll get what you want, but I don't think you'll be happy with the results. It's much nicer to be eaten by God than to be eaten by anyone else. But most people prefer to be eaten by their biological mother or some other person in their life that they worship as an idol, and they refuse to extract that attachment so that they can be fully digested by God consciousness. So what is love, really, when you get down to it? When you love someone, you want to know them as deeply as possible, right? You want to know and to be known by. And to know, in the biblical sense, also means intercourse, doesn't it? It means interpenetration. So if you want to be eaten by God, it means you want to be interpenetrated. You want to know God at such a level that you and God literally become one, and you know the mind of God because the mind of God has been given to you. The only way you're ever going to know the mind and the heart and the being of God is to give yourself to God completely, so that you are known by God and you know God as the self. Non-duality is the truth, but it's not a fact, okay? It has to be attained by a process, and that process is the refinement, the purification, the alchemical transformation of the soul from lead into gold, into that beautiful nature that then has a vibrational resonance with the presence of God and is then united with and then absolutely saved from its illusion of separation and the suffering that goes with that separation. So to be one with the Absolute gives you absolution. You are absolved from the sins. That's why the balm in Gilead is for the sin-sick soul. But it's only if you want to know God, and you can only know God if you love God. And if you're willing to be known by, and therefore completely digested by, infinite consciousness. But if you are in the ego mind, it is so contracted, so opaque, so small, so petty, that there's no way that you can know the infinite beauty of God. How can you know God's poetry if your own soul isn't open to that infinite beauty and majesty? You have to open completely. You have to be dilated if you want to be penetrated by God, and God has the Shiva Lingam, not you. And so the soul is in the feminine position. So interestingly, you have to go through two phases if you want to become one with God. The first phase is that you have to display all the masculine virtues, the strength, the courage to separate from the herd and from the family system and the internal superegos and all of that, those purifications, the courage that it takes to live a life in accord with Dharma and to constrain yourself, and the ability to stand for that which others will ridicule you and put you down and which you won't be able to explain. It requires a tremendous amount of courage of solitude. But then the second level is the feminine virtues, in which you have to be willing to open completely, open your heart totally, to love totally, to surrender totally, to become love. And if you aren't willing to have the courage to be completely taken by God, with all of your defenses removed, in a state of total vulnerability, then you won't reach that final stage of union. And then non-duality is not just the truth, but is the fact, the real. But it can't be that if you are still in duality and the love of the ego has not been overcome by the love of God. And this is the question. Who do you love more? Do you love your ego more? and your ego's attachments to which objects of desire and jouissance, or do you love God more? That's the balance, that's the scale that we are all in. And if we love the ego and we want to justify it and we're rigid in holding on to our positions as egos, then we can never understand the karma that we have. We can't understand the suffering. We can't understand its meaning, and we can never be free of it, because it's those very rigid positions that the ego takes that are the cause of its suffering. And so we have to let go of all positionality, all strategic thinking, all tactics, all attempts to justify our rebellion against the cosmic order or the community order or whatever order is being offered as the pathway to the transcendence of ego, which is always going to meet with resistance. And with the ego's desire to go behind the back of whatever is the authority structure, the Dharma, even try to get behind God's back, although I don't think anyone could ever do that, but they try and pretend that God doesn't see everything. Well, you're wrong, and the only loser in that is that you have then hidden yourself from God. And if you think that that's an achievement, you'll discover that it was a big mistake. So it is only in this willingness to give and be given completely that there is absolution. So understanding what God's culinary preferences are, it's not hard to make yourself very delicious. But to make yourself very delicious means you have to be willing to be very loving and very virtuous and very pure and very forgiving, compassionate, and completely truthful. The problem with egos at the end of Kali Yuga is that every ego at some deep level often, but often even on the surface nowadays, every ego feels like a criminal because it is a criminal. And so the criminal does not want to meet the law. Criminal tries to run away from the law. And so rather than having love of God, one has fear of God. You know, if you're a sin-sick soul, you're going to fear judgment, even though God tells you don't judge, lest ye be judged, and your sin is your own judgments of others and your own refusal to back off of that belief that you have the right to have opinions. But we don't, because we don't know anything. We're clueless. We have to be able to be in God consciousness for us to even be able to discern what is right and what is wrong. There has to be a cultivation of the intelligence that enables us to function accurately in the world. And that requires a great offering. When you get the diamond mind, you also get within it the golden pearl. Now that pearl is called the pearl of great price, okay? What is the price that you have to pay? It's your entire ego. If you're not willing to pay the price of giving your ego to God to be digested, then you don't get the pearl, and you don't get the diamond, you don't get the golden light, you don't get any of the rewards. You have to be willing to pay the price. And the price is not going to go any lower. You know, this is God isn't going to barter with you and say, okay, well, you take part of my ego and give me everything. No, it won't work that way. So we have to be willing to play by the rules and understand the value of what we're getting and the lack of value of what you're giving.
We're getting there, aren't we? Shunyamurti said, I wrote it down. Let me get to it. If you are a sin-sick soul, guilt, if you are a sin-sick soul, you believe God will judge you. Hence, you have to be pure. There is no escape from this truth. You will always see God as how you think God sees you. There is no escape. Welcome to Center of Light Joke. Objective. It's always my objective to get you into a riddle. It gets me in a riddle, and I go fall all the time. So we come to the aha of it all. Come to the realization. Now, tonight is Center of Light. God realization. It comes down to the absolution of the ultimate joke. So, we're going to go through a few stages of what God realization is, what it looks like, where is it, how is it, what can it possibly be. My brother Yusuf Khan says to know God is to be without God, and to be with God and in the darkness, in the light, in the totality of nothing all at once. God is a riddle. It's ironic. It's meant to be that way because beyond what we know is the greatest capacity and potential for something else beyond what we ever thought of. Hence God realization. I think it's this way. And then when you stand before the presence of your Creator, He says, that's only a small portion of it. But really, it's this way. And you explode. Here are stages of God realization. Mystic mantra, 3 stages. Our conviction of His existence gets proven beyond doubt. Thereby, faith, we have faith, we have devotion, and trust gets strengthened. The ultimate realization dawns on us with the feeling that we are, in reality, what we have been searching for. The ultimate realization dawns on us with the feeling that we are, in reality, what we have been searching for. That's the same thing I said twice. Why was it duplicated? Either way, maybe I needed to hear it twice. The ultimate, I said it again, God realization basically happens in 3 stages. And these 3 stages can help us find out how far or near, it's all here now, we are to Him and where we have to lead ourselves. In the first stage, I don't know this Telugu word, so I'm not going to try to pronounce it. In the first stage, one believes that God exists somewhere, maybe up in the sky, or in heaven, or in this abode, or in our own abode. No one knows how He looks, what He wears, where exactly He lives, etc., as no one has seen Him. However, it is firmly believed that He exists and He is the creator of our universe. That's level number 1. We'll all go through our infancy, our adolescence, and then we move into maturity and adulthood. Believing His existence in some form or the other, and somewhere or the other in the universe, we feed our belief system through prayers. Like Osho said, pray as a lover, not like a beggar. We feed our belief system through prayers, lighting of candles, I love candles, singing bhajans, which is divine songs, puja, worship, many different labels, celebrating religious functions, chanting His name and glorifying Him through discourses. While doing all these things, we may get some proof or glimpses of his existence through our desired fulfillment, favorable results in business or profession or domestic issues, solutions to complex problems, In this stage, we are like any other ordinary human being, believing in the existence of God and performing regular karmas, actions or deeds, and expect their favorable results through God's intervention. Some people don't believe in God. Some people believe in God and they're happy with that, and that's where they want to sit. And some people are willing to dive into the fire and to die to live. Stage number 2. In this second stage of God realization, we know who God is. He is clearly perceived and seen before us. Well, God is omnipresent. I see that. With open eyes and in a meditative state, he is seen in some of our favorite form, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, whatever's your deity, or perceived in formless state, present all over. We feel his presence all the time around us. Our conviction of his existence gets proven beyond doubt, thereby faith, devotion, and trust gets strengthened even more. Having known him and seen him now, repeat that one more time to me, that joke. Having known him and seen him now, we realize that we are only puppets in his hands, or we are his children, and we are not the doers of any action or karma. All actions are generated from him and results are bestowed by him. We are only medium for him to achieve his divine goal. We slowly free ourselves from the karmic cycle, and there is a reduction in us performing new duties, actions, karmas. We become karma yogis. I'm going to change something real quick. I want to see what people are saying. Welcome to Sutra of Light tonight. I need to do a refresh and a refresh. Hopefully they're working. There we go. So tonight is Sutra of Light objective. It's always my objective to push you into the experience of infinite potential. God realization. Level number 3. In this third stage of God realization, we become the God himself, enlightenment. This stage comes to those who practice intense spiritual practices, sadhana, contemplation, comprehension, and meditation. The ultimate realization dawns on us with the feeling that we are, in reality, what we have been searching for. The ignorance of duality and separation from him is lost, and we become one with him. This state is described through spiritual terms such as God realization, nirvana, enlightenment, etc. In this state, we are freed from the clutches of karma, as there is no doer and no receiver of result. We ourselves become the creator, the creation, and the created. We get mukti, moksha, salvation from the pains and sorrows of life, as well as from birth and death and rebirth cycle. Now we see the work that needs to be done. You have to want it. And it doesn't require many years. It simply requires you to bring up, be okay with, integrate all of those many tears. And I don't mean tears, which I do, but I mean those tears. The levels of your life. To want something so beyond what you have ever known that we are willing to die, to burn. It's called hell. You're already in it. But Jesus walked through hell for 3 days. The question simply becomes, are we willing to do the same thing as our teacher, our leader? Follow the leader. You're going to have to burn away all the nonsense. I have to burn away all of my nonsense. As my brother Danny Childress, keyboard friend, soul brother, says with his new project, the clockmaker is ticking the clock.
Silence of this house, as the sun's going down, pictures in the flickers as the candle burns out. No one is breaking down. There's a way to turn back the hand of time. Levers, here's what
Welcome back to Center of Light. Tonight we are speaking about Center of Light objective / joke. God realization. The divine comedy is your life. Doesn't trivialize your life. Takes you to another level of laughing at yourself, ourselves. It's a beautiful story, but it is humorous. Or is it? Lightning strikes in the family, I understand. Continuing on from Homecoming Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, Volume 2, which should be out a couple of years, whatever, however long it takes. Doesn't need to. Speaking of God realization, those three tenets, that Trinity, those three models, that is the basis, the foundation of my spirituality. It's actually all of our spirituality, but said this way is my spirituality. The all-knowing tenet, God realization. Jesus became God realized. Buddha became God realized. So on, many people became God realized. I am in my Father is in me, and I am in you. Follow me. The all-knowing tenet. If turning inward unites me with God, higher self, then it makes sense to me that omniscience, peace, is my natural state. Number 2, the all-powerful tenet. If turning inward unites me with God, then it makes sense to me that omnipotence, power, love, is my natural state. Number 3, the all-pervading tenet. If turning inward unites me with God, then it makes sense to me that omnipresence, my own liberation, is my natural state. We are being guided now in small steps we can manage. In due course, love will expand into our lives until we are consumed by love and become love, and in love merge as one with God, who is love itself. Again, people are not afraid of the truth. It's their ignorance of it. So what is the truth? It looks like you when you look in the mirror. That's only the first stepping stone to 2 other landmarks. I understand that I exist. Who is this I? But I understand that I exist. So who is the greatest I? God. Now I understand He exists. I agree with that model, that idea. The next level is, not only do I agree with it, I want some of that. The integration process begins to happen. I'm not only just agreeing with it scientifically or in the form of an idea. I'm willing to move in this sphere and get out of the fear of it all, so I can understand and integrate my idea that I believe is true a little more, so I can make it a reality. The integration and unification process begins to happen. What else could the next level possibly be? Which is to realize the joke has been on you, me, and the we of it all. If God ever wanted to hide Himself, the best place He can do it is inside the human being. So if God is inside of every human being, then in our being human, when we fall in so fervently that we want nothing else, that we are willing to die to live, then everything else happens. In closing tonight, thank you for joining me. I want to read a little something else. My dialogue with Spirit from Homecoming. And I asked God, so how do you do it? With the fear, whatever, whatever it is. So how do you do it? And Spirit says, there is no fear in me, Keith. And because I am so self-fulfilled, I have no need to project false light to try to convince anyone of anything. I am happy just the way I am. I accept all that I have brought forth and see nothing I would change. Does that answer your question? And I say, yes, it does. What you are saying is that when we choose to become enlightened, heaven comes down to us. Spirit continues, yes, and it is just a matter of time, for time is the space between those who take the spiritual path now and those who put it off. If you extract time and space from the equation, what are you left with? And I say with the question, just one big enlightenment, and God says, bang, you got it. Welcome to eternity. Take your shoes off and make yourself at home. And I say, I need a moment. And Spirit says, what's the matter, Keith? And I say, that hit me hard with tears in my eyes. And Spirit says, just wait until you really get it. That is what I meant by God realization being my objective always for my life as I express outward. But it's also a joke. It's an oxymoron. An understanding between the one I think I am, the one I think that I'm so smart, and the moronic part of myself. We make a sandwich with those two, something else happens. It just simply happens. God realization, where is it? It's everywhere. What is it? It's everywhere. When is it? It never has not existed. Pretty simple, powerful stuff. In closing, I'm looking from a place, my document got all kind of word wrapped. For everyone of their own volition, whenever, whether now or later, you will be back, and I, meaning Spirit, will be waiting for you to walk into your divinity, regain your divine consciousness, and merge with the ever-expanding universe and create your own life of infinite love. All who seek divinity must live a life free from wanting, for that is the source and cause of your spiritual bondage. As long as you are constantly wanting, you will only fall farther away from the selflessness of grace and into the selfishness of your own ego. The ego mind is the cloth that veils your consciousness. Your wants are its threads, but when you give up your constant state of wanting, your ego threads will fall away and the cloth will disappear, revealing your true nature, the pure, genuine self that is the soul. God realization will happen for you when you finally free yourself from the brain, the senses, the mind, the wanter. Once you break out of your finite little prison of individuality, you will become conscious, enlightened, one with the cosmic power. Thus, you, me, unto infinity, eternally, we will go back home and reach God. So it's not this arduous task. It's to stop wanting. Wanting is okay. Desires are okay. Wanting is something different. Desires is, I'm human and I'm conscious. I want to go get some pizza. And so you get in your car and you go get some pizza. Wanting is, praying like a beggar and not a lover. Please, dear Lord, give me some pizza versus I love pizza, so I'm going to go get in my car or walk if need be and go get some pizza. Two different realities, experiences altogether. Tonight has been center of light, objective, joke. The joke is on us. We think our lives are important and they are sacred, but held up to the light, they're still sacred, but they become not so important. I love you beyond measure. I will see you soon. I may take a few days off, a few days in. Thank you, Danny Childress. The Dan Project with the 2 songs I played. The link to his website and his songs are in this forum. So let me give you my thoughts, my heart. What is God realization? If I said anything, I would deter you and distract you from it. It's not anything. That doesn't make any sense. Exactly. It's not supposed to make sense. That's where the diamond, the gold, the magic is, beyond what we call common sense. Common sense doesn't even touch the garment of your Lord. So what is God realization? Take your greatest blissful day you've ever had and turn up the volume not only to 10, because in Spinal Tap, in the Raising of the Kundalini, but in the movie, mine goes to 11. But in the virtual tap, you turn it all the way up to infinity. Your greatest day, amplify that to the greatest level. Infinity, eternally. That's what God realization is. It should make you drool at the mouth, at the heart. It does me. You're going to have to die, my friend, to live.